Hey guys, welcome to this video. In today's video, I'll be talking about A-level maths. Before I continue, I'd like to thank Figtree Learning for making this video possible. Figtree Learning is a fantastic tutoring agency and educational consultancy in London, based specifically in South Kensington, but their services are worldwide. So do make sure to check out the website down below. Now, a lot of you have been asking for this video for many months, and here it is. So A-level maths has changed recently. So the advice I'll be giving you in this video is relevant to the exams that I took, where we had modules. We had C1, C2, C3, C4, S1, S2, M1, M2, etc, etc. Now, the structure has changed for you, but I think that the experience I had and the advice I have for you is very applicable to what your experience will also be like. So I'm going to try and make this video as relatable as possible. When I did my A-level back a few years ago in maths, I got an A star. Now, the modules that I took were, of course, the core modules C1 through to C4, in addition to S1 and M1. I wasn't really a fan of doing the S2 or M2 modules, mainly because I just wanted a variety. Statistics was fun, but I looked ahead at S2, and S2 just got super complicated and I wasn't a fan of it, and M2 was getting quite similar to physics, and so I didn't really want to have too much overlap, mainly because I thought it'd get quite boring studying the same thing in two different subjects. So I simply stuck to M1 and S1. I'll quickly go through my results. So in C1 I got 100%, in C2 I got, I think, 92%, or something along the lines of that. In C3 I got 93%, and in C4 I got 100%. Now going to S1 and M1, in S1 I got 97%, and in M1 I got 95%. Of course, these percentages are after standardization, but do note, in maths, unlike many other subjects, the standardization isn't as extensive. The marks that people get are usually very varied because the papers are written very well. As a consequence, the percentage that you get is often very similar to the actual mark that you got. The board I was on was Edexcel. So having gone through my grades, etc. now, let me talk about my experience. So I personally loved maths. I found it to be a relatively straightforward subject if I just revised in the correct manner. I'll give you a few key tips that you should remember later in this video. It was quite a satisfying subject, mainly because once you understood a concept, all you had to do was apply it again and again. And by applying yourself to different questions, you'll end up seeing how the questions are being written in different ways. And then for one type of question, you'll end up having 5 subsets of questions which you'll get really good at doing. This is unlike physics or chemistry or biology, where you take a concept and then they can ask you pretty much anything about it, and then you have to sort of apply the concept more. And I found this sort of application in the sciences a bit more challenging than the application of knowledge in maths. So with maths, I found that if I simply put in the time, if I simply did the past papers and did schoolwork, it was quite straightforward. Now, from my experience with maths, I found that it's very logical. If you go through the working out step by step, there's a very small chance of you getting a wrong answer. The only opportunity for when mistakes do arise is when you make silly errors. And often, in lessons, you'd get very different answers, to your friends sometimes, and you'd look back and simply you'd forgotten to write in 1 minus sign, or you'd maybe written a 5 as a 6, and this slight error literally is amplified throughout the question. Because in maths, remember, each question is split up into 3 or 4 bits, so getting one bit wrong can end up leading to mistakes in others. In some questions, you kind of were given the answer in the question. They'd say to you, confirm that you get this value, or work out and comment on this if you get this value. And what's really good about this is you already have the answer in front of you, so as long as you've spent the time to learn the methodology of the question, you can pretty much guarantee yourself 4 or 5 marks on that question. Let's say you can't actually work out the first part of the question, and you can't actually prove that the answer is a certain thing. Do remember that you can still do the other parts of the question by just using the answer they've given you. So that's another nice thing about maths that I found, that just because you don't understand one part of it doesn't mean you're going to lose all the marks for that whole question. Now, really remember that with maths, the most important thing is accuracy. Once you've learned the actual methodology of it, you want to work on your accuracy. So the aim is ultimately, by the time exams come, that you have developed a strategy for working quickly, working efficiently, but also reducing the number of silly mistakes you make. Now, I really suggest that you become good at double checking. or checking the answer using two different methods to get to the same answer, if that makes sense. So what I used to do back in the day was I used to develop a technique where I'd finish the whole paper in approximately half the time, maybe just over half the time, and then I'd use a rough paper they'd give me, and I'd literally work through every single question again without looking at my previous answer, and I saw if I got the correct answer. And if the two answers matched, either using the same method or using a different method, then I was pretty certain my answer was correct. Of course, some exams, for example C2, I remember, where my mind just went blank and I couldn't remember certain tiny details, and as a consequence I couldn't actually check or sort of apply myself in the situation. And so I just had to take the blow and lose those marks. So what's really important is that you try and, again, reduce the number of silly mistakes you make. Of course, there will be times where you are stressed in the exam, and as a consequence, you'll make these silly mistakes, you might forget a few things. But it's really important that in the exam you stick to your guns and you work through thoroughly and efficiently. I'll give you more exam technique advice later on, but let's actually get to the most relevant things to you guys now, which is whilst you're revising. There are two big commitments that you need to make in maths. One is learning the material, two is actually practicing. So now you'll be learning and practicing. These two main things are very important. If you don't understand something, let's say a teacher goes through something too quickly in class, what's very important is that you go home, sit down with your textbook, and go through this section from the beginning, slowly, understanding what's going on. And usually these C1, C2 textbooks that they write, all these textbooks that maths boards provide are very, very coherent. There were situations where I simply couldn't get it. And by just going through this question, the specific topic, sacrificing 10 minutes of my time, I literally could go the next day to school and understand the question. In maths, the most important thing I can tell you is target and solve those questions that you don't understand. Because it's those exact questions that you ignore now because you don't understand that you'll find in the exam. They will 100% come up in the exam, I can guarantee. So those questions that you've currently put aside, look at them as soon as possible and try and understand them. If you still don't get it, go to your school teacher. And if you need more help, get a tutor. I, for example, did have a maths tutor when I was going through my A-levels. Not because back in the day I really wanted one, it's just my parents said, we're giving this opportunity, do you want to use it or do you not? And so since I was given this opportunity, I just said yes to it, of course, because I realised the importance of having someone guide me through questions, having someone to explain. And so I would strongly recommend that if you want one-to-one help, do get a maths tutor. Again, Victory Learning do provide wonderful maths tutors, so do of course check them out. So yes, tutoring can be another way of going about things, and of course with the tutor, they'll put that extra pressure on you just to make sure that you're keeping up to speed and that you're getting all the work that you need to do done. Of course, this video has been a storm of advice, a storm of experiences, but what I ultimately want to impart, the advice I want you to gain from this is, number one, don't ignore mistakes, don't ignore things you don't understand, go solve them now. Number two, if you don't understand something, sit down with your textbook and work through it slowly. And number three, for maths, enjoy it. Try and realise and try and appreciate how this maths is working. I know sometimes it's just boring, there are numbers, it can get frustrating, you can do a question, you can spend so long doing a question and you don't get it. But ultimately, if you are able to find a passion for maths like I did, where you just enjoy doing maths, you just get into the swing of things, and then doing past papers becomes fun. Of course you make mistakes and all, and that's just part of it, but of course not everything's perfect in life. So if you try and get into the rhythm of maths, okay, I can't sing, but anyway, so try and have a positive sort of outlook on it. The more negative your approach is towards maths, the harder it will be for you. So to make it easy for you, use online resources, use YouTube, use all these lovely videos online, use a tutor, go to a school teacher, use your school textbook, and try and figure out and try and work out the best ways of answering questions that work best for you. Now, like I said, there will be an exam techniques video coming out for maths, so do keep an eye out for that. But yes, on the whole, to summarise, my experience with maths was wonderful. I think it's a fantastic subject. Initially it's hard to learn, it's hard to get your head around, but once you've done the hard work, the initial learning part of it, it becomes a very, very fun subject. And when you're doing other subjects like biology and chemistry, the maths is super amazing for breaking that revision apart. It becomes like a sort of relief vent. So you get frustrated with chemistry, you get frustrated with biology, fine, pick up a maths paper and do that, why not? Anyway, thank you so much for watching, guys. So once again, I'd like to thank Victory Learning for making this video possible. I'd like to welcome all the new supporters, welcome to the channel. If you don't know me yet, I'm Tutoring, I'm a second-year medic here at Jesus College, Cambridge, and best of luck with maths. Take care, guys, and I'll see you soon.